Shalom to the elect, giving all praise and honor and glory to Yahweh Bashem Al-Shai, Bashem Chakadash, and giving double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who well. Peace and salutation to the first fruits, starting with 144,000 prophets, 12,000 choice men out of each of the 12 tribes of Israel, collectively 144,000 men who have been bestowed this truth to preach and minister this gospel to the rest of the remnant of the 1/3 elect, who are not prophets, but are believers in the words of Yahweh Bashem Al-Shai. Those men, women, and children whom are Israelites, who shall come to repentance through the mercy of Yahweh Bashem Al-Shai, which all comes through predestination before the foundation of earth, being chosen and handpicked and selected, the Bachayarium Shal Yash'Allah, the election of the nation Israel. Shemiah Mahmoud Zavapa from the Great Millstone Plaintables Camp in Philadelphia, and double honors to the apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone. All right, who were well. So you have it here, and this some new things going on. Just talking about, the woes of Babylon the Great, America. You have it here where it says a new law aims to lower the price of moving into apartments. Okay, these days a lot of people are actually on the brink of homelessness, are already homeless. Okay, and if they make a home, they're making it a home out of these different things that are not really to be dwelled in. Okay, being a motor vehicle. Okay, motor vehicle just really designed to take you to and fro comfortably to different locations, and maybe to be able to do work and things of that sort. But now these things are being converted to be homes, and it's been for quite a bit. All right, and this has been sweeping across America, where individuals they make these little small conversions, whether they are very small and not elaborate, or actually would go and take out and save up money and do complete redesigns of the interiors of vehicles, okay, and have them specifically designed for living, okay, as a long-term solution to the lack of bread or money, really that's coming in people's pockets. All right, because everything has been brought low, and the people are languishing too. Okay, so let's 1 second. Let me get this Isaiah chapter 24. Isaiah chapter 24, and this is Isaiah 24 and verse 4. And it says that the earth mourneth and fadeth away, the world languisheth and fadeth away, the haughty people of the earth do languish. Okay, so you go into this is you have Bala, all right, from Abal, which goes into to lament. Okay, people are mourning, they're lamenting. I'm not making that much money. Okay, where's the overtime? Okay, where's the hours? Can I get a higher rate of pay? Okay, I gotta work all day, etc. Okay, that's just one form, okay, of mourning. All right, and it fadeth away. All right, the ball is falling. Okay, from fade is actually the Hebrew nabal. Okay, which just goes into sink and drop down. All right, the ball, which actually goes down to being foolish, actually. All right, but when you look fool, you do look like you're a disgrace. All right, it's a sinking. All right, but Slakia, you have the next Hebrew word, which is amal, which is languish, which means to basically grow weak. All right, to grow weak and to droop, to languish, and to be exhausted. All right, you could tell the people are exhausted. Okay, even the people that live in these different dwellings, you could tell that they're not right. Okay, like with some of the individuals. Okay, like meaning in some of these different Airbnbs, another nightmare that's going on is people are squatting in Airbnbs, which Airbnbs is basically a service that offers temporary living, for supposed to be for a holiday, for short stays and stuff like that. But people actually rent them out, property owners, and then or I even heard even people that don't own the property, can find a way to do it. But they'll send out that property, and people will temporarily be in that property, okay, for for a couple of days, etc. How long they need, and then the property will be given obviously back to them. They just sign themselves in or go in the property, live there, and then somebody cleans it up and have it just like a hotel. Okay, it's just like basically a hotel, but now these people are using these as basically as stealing them and claiming, hey, I can live here. So that goes to show you that this place is through and it's falling. All right, and definitely that change is gonna come because Yahweh Shai is gonna cut off the long disease which comes with Esau Edom's rule. Okay, because wickedness has been multiplied, and you have people that go and steal from one another. Okay, and they're selfish, and also a lot of people are done wrong, but it don't justify taking somebody's stuff. Okay, but that's how the system has been set up. All right, and that's from Edomite rule. All right, the people that call themselves wheat, but it's not. They go back to Esau Edom. Okay, and they were the Greeks, going back from Philip the Macedon, which had Alexander the Creep as his Yelud, or son, or begotten, and you have all this wickedness and Hellenization where people are following other customs and being just as the heathen, us being the Israelites. Okay, it says and after his death, being Alexander, they all put crowns upon themselves that would be the four major kings. Okay, being the Seleucid, the Ptolemies, the Cassandra, and you have one more. Let me get it back to me. Lasmaeus, right? So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. Okay, and evils have been multiplied because the wicked are ruling, as Job 9:24 tells you. For the earth has been given into the hand of the wicked. He covered the faces of the judges thereof, which are the Israelites, starting with the chief judge Yahweh and his only begotten son Yahweh Shai. All right, the angels. Okay, if not, where and who is he? Okay, and we know who Esau Edom is just based on the characteristics and the traits, him being a robber, a murderer. Okay, these are different traits of the Edomites. All right, John 10:44, John 10:44. Yeah, or let me see if it's a John 10:44. I forget. Okay, all right, this is John 12:44. Destroy, steal. All right, so this is. Pardon me, Slock. Like I said again, it's like spur of the moment. Let me see. Or John 8:44, possibly. No. Steal, kill, and destroy. John 10:10, pardon. The thief, being Esau Edom, cometh not but to steal and to kill and to destroy. Destructure. Many people's lives have been destructured because they cannot afford living, okay, under um, the Edomite rule. They have it where the utilities are high, they got children, they got food that they would like to, of course, eat, but they have barely any, okay, or not enough, as the scripture gonna go into Haggai. It says, I am come that they might have life and they might have it more abundantly, and that'd be for the Israelites, okay. But let's see, Haggai chapter 1 and 6. Well, Haggai 1 and 6, it says here, ye have sown much and bring in little. Ye eat, but ye have not enough. Ye drink, but ye are not filled with drink. Ye clothe you, but there is none warm. And he that earneth wages to put them into a bag with holes. And it's like, as soon as you get it, as soon as it's going out, okay. Especially with the inflation, okay, it's terrible. All right, so we're just gonna go into these different new laws and stuff, and bring out some of this information. All right, new laws and fair use warning. This is for educational purposes only, and not for any monetary gain. Ownership is to 6 ABC, Philadelphia.
Moving into an apartment in Philadelphia could be going down for some. That's the cost of moving into an apartment in Philadelphia could be going down for some. That's under a new law that officially goes into effect tomorrow.
Action News reporter Taronda Thomas joins us live here in the studio with more. Taronda, this is known as the Move-In Affordability Plan.
Yes, it is, Christy. And Councilmember Rue Landau first proposed this new law. She hopes it makes it easier for people to move into apartments without spending thousands of dollars up front. Fresh off her win for the Philadelphia at-large council seat in 2023, Councilmember Rue Landau had a constituent waiting before she even moved into her office.
They've been in a homeless shelter, and they said they were waiting for me to get into office because they thought that I could help.
Seeking help with an issue that's a struggle for so many Philadelphians, the cost of getting into an apartment.
They just can't afford that big amount that they have to save in order to get in.
Some of these costs, though, will change as the Move-In Affordability Law goes into effect. Landau introduced the legislation, which aims to reduce the cost of apartment move-in fees. One part of the new law requires landlords to drop the cost of an apartment application.
Landlords that are charging upwards of $200 per application.
$250, and then denying them, okay? Like, come on, it's a money grab.
Now they can't charge more than $50 per application. Well,
which is that's reasonable, okay, if that's just gonna cover, the proper checks that they have to do, but even like these days, it's just like people have to jump through hoops just to get into a apartment. I was myself denied this year a apartment, all right, by probably definitely an Edomite, from I believe these people coming over from Eastern Europe or something like that, or Eurasia, and they thinking that my documents were falsified, and it's like the documents is bona fide, true. It's just that nobody want to submit all information, meaning certain account numbers for you to be able to look at, and be able to possibly use for your own fraudulent use, okay? And you have it where people do sell information to be able to qualify for different living when they don't have that. They may not have a way to prove their income, but they can pay their income, getting illegal means or whatever means that's not traditionally accepted, okay? But these people, that basically look at as landlords as you as if you're them, and when you're you got true means, like it's just a bunch of confusion. That's Babylon for you.
Welcome news to organizations like Senior Law Center.
There is a huge lack of affordable housing for everybody in Philadelphia.
Right now, like you had it where, like I said, back in 2018, I lived in the same area where I live at, and currently, and you have it. It's a way better, quality of life compared to other parts of Philadelphia. Okay, now that was 700 and I think 775 back in 2018. I first came into the knowledge. Now rent there is like they want 12 and some change, 1250 or something like that per month. Okay, and you don't know if these different companies add extra fees for utilities. All right, this is non-utilities included. Okay, in certain cases they may include maybe water sometimes, but who should have to pay for water? But after the pandemic, yeah, it was a big money grab and a big structuring, and just a lot of people were out and lost, and hey, they making it up too.
But for older adults, it hits especially hard.
R6 ABC price.
Yeah, because older adults live on fixed incomes and such, and they may even receive different benefits from the government and such, which in certain cases is all right, because you have it that fixed that government program could provide that. They should be able to take care of you as a government. You have paid into the system, in certain cases, but and you just a citizen of this kingdom, But all of that is coming to be thrown out the window, where like the churl, as the scriptures that tell you, Isaiah chapter 32, it says that the vile person, this Isaiah 32:5, it says, the vile person shall no more be called liberal, nor the churl said to be bountiful. Okay, we're not gonna be bountiful with and generous with caring for you. All right, you're gonna have to find out and make it out on your own. Okay, or go back to return to work. There's a lot of different senior citizens that have returned back to the workforce, and even sometimes even outperform in certain tasks. Some things that even these younger kids do, because they have language as well. All right, look, typical rent is $1,844 a month. That's crazy. All right, that's a luxury apartment. That might be a studio or one bedroom. Let's say Philadelphia, Camden, or New Jersey, Wilmington area. Okay, 5% higher than it was 5 years ago. No, they have it every year. They going up on the rent. 10.7 higher than 10 years ago. All right, and that's what they're saying off of CBS Price Tracker. It could be different in other different ways of tracking these statistics, and it's wicked. They putting interest on everything. It's the same dwelling. They ain't upgraded. I moved into an apartment. They ain't upgrade. They try to act as if it was upgraded, but you got an old boiler, furnace and such. You have to buy a portable heater just to heat the damn place more, maybe possibly more cost efficiently. I even had to, even in my dwelling, I had to, maybe even set up, or had to set up like window covers just to maybe have it where certain drafts don't enter into the place to make it colder. So then, make it less tolerable to live in. And make it, you reduce your heating costs. Because sometimes Jake have just lived without having heating. Okay, I've grown up and having a lack of heat. Using a portable heater as a main heating source. Those portable heaters are used a lot of times for supplemental heating. Okay, on top of what you existingly have. Okay.
Tracker shows rent in the Philadelphia, Camden, Wilmington area stands at about $1,877 a month. That's more than 4% higher than 5 years ago and nearly 11% higher than.
And remember, like, this is for property, like I'm the apartment complexes with other people on top of you, and underneath you. Okay, common entry with multiple different people with characters coming into the place. It's not even what you have it where it's that much desirable for a person, especially who is in this true spiritually, to be around. You being around people that got weird demonic door entering rituals, and there's a lot of madness, other cultures, they staring at Jake, as a spectacle. They the heathen, they staring at Jake, but you know, these are the different properties that you lived in. Maybe you live in the hood, where it's cheaper, and then you're not surrounded by wolves, and they even have high rent, okay? I'm not sure if this is like a 3-bedroom or something like that, but you have certain areas in Philadelphia, you could be able to get a cheaper price of living for the rent, but then it's in a high crime and a less desirable area that you would want to be in, okay?
A decade ago, oftentimes before a person can even move in, landlords want first month's rent as well as a security deposit.
Dude, I've had my first apartment, because not having so-called credit, having to pay double of everything. Double first month, double last, and double security. Okay? So I just use the grain of thumb to have 5Gs when you plan to leave. Okay? And same for this spot, where I'm currently in, that's, I'm disenchanted from the gate, about $4,300 just to get in here, and it's not even, set best for me, and it's supposed to be in one of the areas that's more desirable, okay, in Philadelphia, okay.
Some also require a second security deposit, which could cost the same as another month of rent. Under the new law, landlords who join...
Yeah, and it could, because you got negotiations going on, and you have these different landlords. You have these agents that are working for the landlord, which, hey, most of this stuff is owned by the tiny tops, okay? When I seen a tiny top, like, because they've been at they fall, with a lot of Jake is finding out that they've been doing fraudulent practices where they're renting without having certain rental licenses. All right, they're not updated. So then you have different legislation that have it where that stuff should be, of course, not collected, and then the people just sit there and stay in there, squatting there, but then that money is still apparently compounded. Now you have it where individuals not leaving, the rent's not being collected, and then that tiny top, he mad, but he can't do nothing. So you have it where they actually create problems, all right, and mess up your name and make you a offender, okay?
Charge more than one security deposit would have to let renters pay that second deposit in installments, removing barriers to safe, affordable housing.
Yeah, because then a lot of people don't have that money saved up. Most people don't have $600 saved up for no emergency or nothing like that. So, this would possibly make it where you're financing now your way to get into a property. Okay? They want money, man. This particular spot I'm in, they wanted a cashier's check. I'm like, what? Cashier's check? Yeah, they want it guaranteed. They don't want nothing to bounce or straight up money order, but preferably a cashier's check. All right? And they want to see you got the money and stuff like that. Going into your mobile bank, to show them, all right, he taking screenshots, confusion from a tiny top that already know your situation, okay, and then know they getting up over on you, all right, and these things are gonna be taken care of by Yahweh Shem Shot, all right. Reap what you sow, all right. They've have done a lot of wickedness, all right. So this is I was supposed to add the scripture, but that a man sow, he reap. All right, but I want to move towards and closing the lessons out, but I mean, I could bring out another scripture. This is Micah chapter 6. All right. Micah chapter 6 and 10, it says, "Are there yet the treasures of wickedness in the house of the wicked, and scant measure that is abominable? Shall I count them pure with the wicked balances, and with the bag of deceitful weights? For the rich men thereof are full of violence, and the inhabitants thereof have spoken lies, and their tongue is deceitful in their mouth." All right, I'm gonna use that in like in 4E. All right, because we have wicked Jake that have speaking lie and deceit. Okay, and have done a lot of false hoods. Okay, towards the Lord. Okay, therefore also I will make thee sick and smiting thee, and making thee because thou of thy sins, and the Lord hath done that to us. Now we live in these shite situations. It says, "Thou shalt eat and be not satisfied, and thy casting down shall be in the midst of thee." All right, and thou shalt take hold, but thou shalt not deliver. That which thou deliverest will I give up to the sword. Thou shalt sow, but thou shalt not reap. And look at with our job, we build up these jobs and stuff like that, and hey, we ain't reaping all of the millions of dollars that they're getting, for labor. Thou shalt tread. They giving us a crumb, all right, from the table. But it says, "But thou shalt tread the olives, but thou shalt not anoint thee with oil and sweet wine, but shalt not drink wine." All right. So, some of the things that we, have to deal with, okay? They use us as an investment, and they take usury on us.
We're making housing more affordable here.
And this girl is pushing the alphabet community. Airbnb Nightmare, squatter stays for 10 months, lockout by homeowner.
All of the responsibilities are on me, and I can't get into my property. There's a leak in the property. The water bill is escalating. I can't get in there to see what's going on.
A D.C. homeowner claiming an Airbnb guest has overstayed their welcome and will not leave. In this story you'll only see on 7 News, we're digging into D.C. law, finding out there's not much that homeowner can do. Our Washington, D.C. reporter.
Yeah, and that's another thing where you find out with the squatting thing, yeah, you got a lot of different properties too that are left just undwelled in. And you got people that's homeless out here struggling that just need a place to be in. All right. Would you rather have empty space or a space that's inhabited and getting some money? These people be niggards.
Ashley
Not all of them, but it could be unfortunate.
Spoke with the homeowner and tried to speak with the alleged squatter.
The alleged squatter originally got into the home through Airbnb, claiming that her apartment caught fire and it needed time to get repairs. Now that was back in February. Roshane Douglas says she didn't know she was opening her life up to a nightmare when she accepted Shadija Romero's Airbnb reservation almost 10 months ago. That reservation ended March 29th after 32 days, and Romero hasn't paid another dime. But living in the home for over a month apparently lets her claim some form of tenant rights, and she refuses to let Roshane enter the property.
I never gave her any tenancy. I never gave her a lease.
Roshane tried everything, gave her a 30-day notice to vacate, called police, went to court, and even offered Romero $2,500 to sign a paper admitting she's not a tenant and to get out.
Yeah, if you did that, that's just gonna legally, if she signed that paper, that would have, basically legally made it where, she has no grounds to be there. But like I said, there's certain rights that, hey, when you get in a certain dwelling, that you can use and supplant to be able to stay within dwelling. That's within this man's legal framework. Okay. So Jake just finding a way to supplant, and then it sucks too, because somebody they supplant their own people too. But hey, every brother's not a brother.
Romero signed the document, but didn't budge.
November the 15th.
Dang, she signed it and didn't even move. So look, that's just it. Like where even the lack of legal force, the law enforcement is weak.
Came and she told me, this no longer works for me. Do what you have to do. I'm not leaving. I went to the police with my order, and they said there's nothing that they can do, that I need to go to court, which I've done, and I do not have a...
Because they the landowner. They the true landlord. You know, the true landlord is E, okay? Whether you have papers that say you own something, E the true landlord right now, okay?
Court date until December the 11th.
Roshane put this sign up on her home so police and neighbors would know Romero was not authorized.
Look what the girl did. The girl put a little it hangs some look like a blanket to cover it, you know.
To be there. A sign Romero covered with a sheet.
I need police assistance.
I was there when police helped Roshane cut it down, while Romero hid inside.
It's shocking to me that you would abuse a system like that.
While all this is going on, Romero's social media shows her living her best life on trips.
Yeah, because, you know, the person ain't really paying that rent, so they could save that money. Imagine if you could save per month. Imagine the amount of money you can use on just straight up folly, especially if you're a woman. The scripture says, she that liveth the pleasure is dead while she liveth. You know? They dead. So, of course, they want to, you know, these people are languishing. They want to feel better and have escapism. So, you know, of course, they're going to go on these trips. You got some people that work part-time but get high wages and stuff in medical field, and they able to go around the world. You know, I know this particular Benjamin, his wife, and even his daughter, they go on mad trips and stuff like that, you know? And all she do is sell platters and work part-time in the medical field. Drives a Lexus. House is paid off elderly, but, you know, they still living their best life, you know? But, yeah, man, you know, thousands of dollars not being given. Hey, that's you, man. Look, 12 months, you know, you could just do the math with some of this different thing. 12-month rent, $1,350. You know, I give y'all something. Rent times 12, right? That's $16,200, and that's actually straight bread coming out. I ain't have to say, oh, well, I don't have it. That's money you gonna get, okay? Because the Lord, he afforded to pay it. Yahweh Ratazah, I'm gonna pay it, right? But that right there, that's 16,000, 2 years and stuff. Think of like that amount of money as a down payment, or that money being for, as you say, a death or a mortgage, all right, which means death, you know. But yeah, man. You talking about $1,800 rent? Like $1,800 rent? 20, that's so much money, man. You know, and I've lived in dwellings for over, you know, say it's like, for example, 70, 75, and that's not even, you know, that's like, they got money, man. You know, have paid money where it could be paid half of the damn so-called mortgage and stuff. So it's just wicked. It's not even mine. This chick got her arse bent over in Jamaica, in Montego Bay. You wonder why the Lord's gonna judge a lot of our people, because they receive benefits and not know them. Her twerking. This chick is twerking, okay, and squatting.
And promoting her nonprofit. And Roshane is left paying thousands in attorney fees, the mortgage, and utilities for a home she can't even enter. I tried to get some answers from Romero, who was clearly inside the home, but she never came to the door.
Of course not.
When a person walked out to her car, they didn't want to talk to us
And
either.
they got a car. You know, and it's got other people living in. Oh yeah, you come to give me, and then I might sublet that thing. You know, or they might sublet that thing so that they can live in there and they get more money. Oh, come live with me, man. I only $500 a month. Dude, they not even paying no rent. So it's like you funding a lifestyle.
Roshane is waiting now for her court date next week, where she's hoping the judge's decision will allow U.S. Marshals to force her unwanted guest out once and for all.
Yeah, good luck with that, man. So it's crazy. So that's the lesson through the spirit and such, man. The scriptures, like I said, talk about, if you plow iniquity, this is Job chapter 4 and 8. It says, even as I have seen that they that plow iniquity, all right, which is sins compounded up, and so wickedness reap the same. So don't think that all these people is not going to get away with what they have done. All right, the Lord give grace where grace is provided, but hey, that the scriptures also talk about thou shalt not steal. Okay, and you're supposed to render to Caesar what is Caesar's. All right, and you have a lot of people, they have gotten their stuff from the Caesar, being the current rulers, all right, in this democratic republic, right? Okay, but they can't get they bread. Okay, but you have it where there's forms of of grace and exemptions, and then there's forms of abuse. The scripture talk about to use, not abuse this world. All right, this use, world, abuse. Let's see if I can get that. I'm having a failure this morning. Damn, man. Well, I can't find no precepts this morning. Use this world, not abuse. All right, this is 1 Corinthians 7, and I'm gonna read in King James. Man, what's going on with this? It says, if they that use the world as not abusing it, for the fashion of this world passed away, and this world is through. So, hey, good lesson through the spirit, man. Hey, learn from it. You know what I mean? Certain Jake is suffering, but the Lord having mercy. Remember, as we do pray as believers, in Proverbs 30th chapter, I think the 8th verse, it says, remove far from me vanity and lies. Give me neither poverty nor riches. Feed me with food convenient for me. We want to have just enough, our daily bread, to be able to sustain. We don't want to have, as I said, least I be full and deny thee. You be rich, now you denying the existence of the Lord. You an atheist, you so satisfied. You be like, yeah, I'm good, right? You complacent and say, who is the Lord? Yahweh. Or at least I be poor and steal and take the name of my power in vain. In ways that, our people do that is by, as we gonna use here, poor and steal. Poor is Yerash, all right? Yerash goes into being taken possession of, all right? And you get a lot of times possession, all right, over these different spirits, okay, that destroy and ruin you and consume you. You living in a scarcity, you do and compromise your morals, okay, which is the right character, the right conduct, okay, which are by the law, statutes, commandments. All right, and then you have for steal, which steal just to carry away, all right, to be brought by stealth. Like that girl, she don't even want to show herself, while she's stealing that rent, But and then living in Jamaica and living the best life and all that, But hey, it is what it is. So shalom to the elect.